Hi guys, welcome to this review of Gloomspite Gitz. So what we'll do is we'll build the models and we'll take a look. We will look at the abilities and the cards. We will cross-check them with the cards that came out last year when Warcry first launched. And then we'll quickly cross-reference that information with the details from the Tome of Champions just to see if there's any differences. Okay, so that's me made up most of the models. So what I will tell you is that in terms of these guys on squigs, we've got Boingrots and we've got squid hoppers. And the basic difference is the Boingrots have got a 2-inch range because they've got spears. And then the squig hoppers have got a 1-inch range because they've got swords. So we'll take a look at the miniatures and then we'll go through the stats. So we'll take a look at the Boingrot boss first. Who's awesome. Then we'll look at the squig hopper boss, who the sculpt for this boss is exactly the same except for the dude on top. Then we'll have a look at the Boingrot Bounder, and there's enough to make 3 of these in the box. Obviously all different sculpts. And finally we've got a squig hopper, and again there's enough to make 3 of these with different sculpts as well. So that's cool. Then we get 3 sneaky snufflers, who look like that. These are all very similar, but I will quickly show them to you. The main stuff that's different is what's in their little cage thing here, and the snufflers themselves. So themselves are slightly different. There's the last one. Okay. So before we go through all the stats, I just want to go through the cards for which we don't have models, so they don't come in that box. Now I cross-checked all of these cards against the card pack that came out last year and the Tome of Champions. Now they're identical to the card pack that came out, but if you look at the Tome of Champions, it's quite a significant mistake in this book, and that is that the Squig Herder, the card is worth 45 points, which is correct, but in the book it's down as 195, which is way wrong, obviously. But other than that, everything's present and correct. So what we get is we get a Squig Herder and a Cave Squig. Now if you want these models, you need to buy the Squig Herd box, which is about 22 quid. And then the other models that we get are a Shooter, a Moon Clan boss, a Stabber with Barbed Net, a Stabber with Poking Spear, and just a standard Stabber. And if you want those models, you'd need to go and buy a box of Grots, which you can get for about 18 quid, something like that. Okay, let's go through all the stats. So if I go through the ones for the models that we've got first, that will be a good idea. And we'll start with the bosses. Okay, so we'll start with the Boingrot boss. So 265 points, it's quite hefty. Movement of 8, which is great. A toughness of 5, which is really good, and 24 health, which is on the lower range of the health of most of the bosses in these boxes. Range of 2 and 4 attacks, strength 5, which is also very good, and then 2 and 5 for successful hits. So that's quite high powered. Next up we've got the other boss, which is the Squig Hopper boss. He's 250 points. He moves further, which is 10. less wounds, which is 22, and a toughness of 4. He only has 1 range, but he does 5 attacks. Strength 5, which is good, and then 2s and 4s for hits and crits. Now we've got the Boingrot Bounder, 220 points, movement of 8, health of 18, toughness of 5, 2-inch range, 3 hits, 5 toughness, 2 damage or 5 on crits. That's strong as well. And now we've got the Squig Hopper, 200 points again, 10 movement, strength, toughness 4, 16 wounds, 1-inch range, 4 hits on a strength 5 with 2 and 4 for successful hits, which is good. And then we've got the Sneaky Snufflers. Now the Sneaky Snufflers don't appear on this list here, so this hasn't changed at all since the card pack that came out last year. You can tell it has had a tweak because the artwork up the top has changed slightly. It's either changed or it's gone through a printer with either new inks or something like that. This part here has definitely changed, but the detail is exactly the same. Okay, so the Sneaky Snufflers, cost of 85, movement of 4, toughness 3 with 15 wounds, 1-inch range, 3 attacks on 3 strength, dealing out 2 and 4 damage. So it deals out good damage, but everything else is pretty weak, to be fair. It's also got no icons on there, so no abilities for them guys. And let's just go through these. Yes, these guys are all on the ability chart. Okay, our Squig Herder, 45 points, movement of 4, toughness 3, 8 wounds. So very low skill. Sorry. So very low stats on this guy. 3 hits on a 1-inch range. Strength 3, deals out 1 and 2 damage. So not great at all. Okay, so the Cave Squig, 140 points. Movement 4, toughness 4, 15 wounds. So slightly better. 1-inch range, 4 hits with a strength of 5, which is good. 2 and 4 damage. That's good as well. A Stabber, no abilities. Movement of 4 and a toughness of 4, 8 wounds. 3 hits on strength 3 with 1 and 3 damage. Then we've got a Stabber with Poking Spear, movement of 4, toughness of 4, 8 wounds, 2-inch range, but only has 2 attacks, strength 3 and 1 and 4 on the wounds. Stabber with Barbed Net, so he's got his own ability on the abilities table. Movement of 4, toughness 3, and only 8 wounds. 3 hits on a strength of 3, doing 1 and 2 damage. Moon Clan Boss, 150 points. Movement of 4, toughness 4, 16 wounds. So he does 4 hits on a strength 4 and 2 and 4 damage, which is pretty good. And finally we've got a Shooter, who again has got no abilities other than just the standard ability. So the cards where there's no ability, they do have the standard Gloomspite ability, and they can do the quad abilities as well. Okay, so movement of 4, toughness 3 and 8 wounds. So he's got a ranged weapon which is between 3 and 12-inch range. He does 2 attacks on that on a strength 3, dealing damage of 1 and 3s. And then he's got a up close melee weapon, 3 hits, strength 3, 1 and 2 damage. Okay, so there's some very good units in this, and there's also some pretty poor ones as well. So let's have a look at these abilities. So we'll start with Double, which is available to all of the guys here. Backstabbing Mob, Fighter can use this ability only if there is a visible friendly fighter within 1 inch of them. Till the end of this fighter's activation, add 1 to the attacks and strength characteristics of attack actions made by this fighter that have a range characteristic of 3 or less. Okay, so that's pretty standard for the initial double. Now we've got a double with barbed net, which can only be used by this guy. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter and roll a dice. On a 3-up, until the end of the battle round, that fighter cannot make move actions or disengage actions. And that is a standard ability for dudes with nets, generally. Okay, on a triple, we've got boing, 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 which can be used by all of our mounted guys. Until the end of this fighter's activation, the next time this fighter finishes a move within 1 inch of an enemy fighter, pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter. Again, poor English there. Allocate a number of damage points to this fighter equal to the value of this ability. Okay, so that's good. That is very good actually, especially if you've got 666. The next one we've got is Stab 'em Good, which can be used by the Boingrot boss and the Moon Clan boss. Until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the attack's characteristics of attack actions that have a range characteristic of 3 or less made by friendly fighters when they are within 6 inches of either of these guys. So that's a very good one. Okay, next, go that way. Pick a friendly fighter with the Beast Rune mark, which is only the Cave Squig. Within 4 inches of this fighter, that fighter makes a bonus move action. Okay, so that's pretty good. And then finally, we've got the quad, which can be used by anyone, Sneaky Stab. This fighter makes a bonus move action, then can make a bonus attack action. In addition, if the fighter targeted by that attack action is within 1 inch of this fighter, add the value of this ability to the damage points allocated by hits and critical hits from that attack action. So that's a brilliant ability there. You can save that up for... Let's see who does the most attacks. Yeah, most of your mounted guys do 4 and 5 attacks, so save it up for them. Very, very good. Right, so the last thing I want to look at is something which I think is really, really cool. So, this is a kind of standard token set for Warcry. Anyone who's got the core box or any of the terrain sets will instantly recognise this and know what it is. So here's the one for Gloomspite Gitz. So it's the same in every way, all the icons are the same, but it's just green instead. It's just got a green theme to it as opposed to the red. Now, it's not a lot, but I love that they've done that. And what I'm assuming is that these are going to be the tokens to use for any warbands that you've got that are from the destruction side of things. There's also a different colour for the Nighthaunt and a different colour for the Stormcast Eternals, and I'll get to those as and when I do the unboxings. But I think this is a really cool touch. I think it's very nice, and I think if you're playing against another player, it gives a real kind of clear visual understanding of whose tokens are whose, which isn't a massive problem, but I'm sure, look, I've got loads of people I play Warcry with. I'm pretty sure that we've all mixed up each other's tokens and that kind of thing. But I think that that's a really cool touch, and I thought it was worth mentioning. So all in all, what do I think of the Gloomspite Gitz? Well, they're pretty good. They have got a lot of underpowered stuff. They've got some not overpowered. I wouldn't say overpowered in terms of the strength of attacks or anything like that. They certainly are underpowered in terms of the amount of wounds that they can take. If we look through the roster that we've got, let's look for the guys that got only 8 wounds. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've got 5 different cards of models that only take 8 wounds. If you look at those, they all cost between 45 and 70 points. So good for flooding the battlefields, for winning objectives and that kind of thing, but not much else. We can look at the Moon Clan boss. he's pretty good. Again, only 16 wounds, you know, it doesn't take long to wipe that out. Strength 4 isn't bad. 2 and 4 on 4 attacks, not bad. The Cave Squig, again, is of the mid-range within this group. 15 wounds isn't going to last long, but then 4 attacks on a strength 5 isn't bad at all. And then finally just before we get to our mounted guys, Sneaky Snufflers. It's cool that they're in there. I think they're a nice little addition, and they do offer, at 85 points, they do offer some slightly stronger stuff than the models at a similar price, mainly an increase in wounds to 15. So I think maybe that's why they've been added, just to stop them from getting wiped out so quickly. But that's good. And again, 3 attacks doing 2 and 4 isn't bad, but that strength 3 might cause them a problem. And then really it's just our mounted guys. So they've got decent movement, between 8 and 10 on each one of them. Wounds wise, the leaders have got 22 and 24, and the others got 18 and 16. So the ones that move less have got that move only 8 have got more wounds, and vice versa. The damage they deal on all of these are either 2 and 4 or 2 and 5, which is good, and they are all strength 5, which is also good. So yeah, all in all, I like it. I like it. I think it's a good warband. Now, I'm probably not going to play a great deal with these guys, but I am looking forward to trying them out. I think they'll be good. So if you are considering using these, I hope I've helped you. I'm going to be doing reviews for the Night Haunt and the Stormcaster Totem the next day or 2. So if there's anything I'm not covering in these reviews, please let me know, and I'll be sure to help you out. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in a day or 2.